Hey, this is just a quick test to make sure my mic's functioning. Good, good. We'll be starting in about 3 minutes. If there's anything crackly or funky about my mic, let me know right now and I will fix it before the stream starts. Thank you. Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are going to get started right the heck now. Oh my goodness, I'm excited. I hope that you're excited. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Giraffe stream. I'm your host and your guide, Eric Schrader, the community ambassador, living to serve you guys. Oh my goodness. Also, I've adjusted my mic settings so it's no longer blocking my handsome face. And when I say handsome, just know that that's subjective and whatever terminology you'd like to choose. It's totally fine. I'm married. I'm not trying to impress anybody. Wonderful. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. All right, so we are right inside of Shardis. I don't even know how to pronounce this place. Guys, welcome. I'm one of the developers on EVERSPACE 2, and I don't know how to pronounce one of the locations that we've made. Oh my gosh, such is the joy and wonder of being on such a rich team. Oh, it's great. Anyway, we're on this location, planet-side location. I have done some things to our situation here. We are going to fight a couple of waves of outlaws, and we'll be experiencing that through the lens of you. And what I mean by that is I want you guys to have access to the weapons we'll be decking out our ship with. This is a standard ship. It's a Sentinel. Nothing that's like too super crazy outside the norm. We are going to be using some specific devices, however. In particular, these devices that we haven't seen get a lot of use. We fixed them, which is why I want to show them. The first one, let's talk about these. The first one is the Temporal Nano Recompensator. And what this does is it restores health after you've taken damage. And we're using Diligence, which will actually restore 100% of the damage that we take, but it's distributed over 5 seconds. It's kind of like a super crazy nano injector, but we have to time it right. Then the next thing that we have is this Quantum Entangler. This guy, whenever I target, is going to take damage based on the damage they do to me. So it's, think of it as like a Thorns effect, right? We're also using Covariance, and what that does is it increases the Thorns damage effectively by another 30% on top of that. It's wonderful, it's great. Oh, it's great. David says, Eric, you have to impress your wife. You're right, I do. You're not wrong there. Don't you worry about that, okay? It's fine, it's great. I don't know how many you can see because the webcam's kind of small, but I actually haven't shaved. I had a problem with my razor, and by problem I mean the dang thing broke. So I literally could not shave. Don't worry, I've got another one coming through Amazon. It's fine. Just it's great. It feels nice though. It's got the quality peach fuzz going on. Anyway, yes, it is a reference to mythology. Yeah, all the stuffs we've been doing. We have themes how we do our naming conventions in the game. That doesn't mean we all know how to pronounce them, but we know what they reference. We know why the names are applied. There's a lot of meaning put into why we do what we do, truly. So yeah, it's just know that sometimes I have a failure of pronouncing things. All right. Also, I just wanted to say hello to everybody on Twitch, everybody on YouTube, everybody on Steam. If it's working yet, are you working Steam? Hang on, I'm gonna check and make sure. Because if it's not, I'm gonna be a little sad. Unable to connect. All right, sorry Steam, you're out today. I don't know why. I'm gonna have to check that for next time. Because I wanna go in here. Now it's working. Hello, Steam. Awesome, perfect. Nailed it. So we got our 2 devices, we've got some weaponry. What we have here, the weaponry that we're using, this is all stuff that is fairly applicable to EVERSPACE 1. So if you have that favorite weapon that you have in mind, it's probably here, except for some of the DLC stuff, and by some I mean all of the DLC stuff. The DLC weapons are not present. So yeah, no worries. Wish I would know what all those location names mean. I think our creative director has been doing a really good job with our writers and bringing together some meaningful content with the naming conventions. It all checks out. That's the important thing. But yeah, sometimes you do have to do a little bit of research because it's not like straight apparent. I mean, how many people look at this and say Chardis built bowl and be like, oh yeah, I know that's totally a reference to X, Y, and Z and how it all correlates within the mythos of Greek pantheon and blah blah. You know, it's fine if you don't know. It's okay. But if you do, it's bonuses. All right. So, let's get into some battle. We currently have a pulse laser, we have a beam laser, we have a railgun, we have an autocannon, we have a scattergun, we have an executioner, which is a modified scattergun, which I prefer, a blaster, a thermogun, a flak, and a coil gun. Now I just read them all alive. I also realized that even though I'm not trying to impress anyone, I had my top button undone. You're welcome, stream. And just fix that right up. And I kind of want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on the weapons. I want to know, like, for especially those who have played EverSpace 1, like what weapons you kind of dive to, what ones you prefer. And I kind of want to take just a moment to explain how it's the same, but also completely different as we move into EverSpace 2. So I just need a couple people just being like, this one, that one, the other thing. And I'm just gonna give you like a little bit of a brief on the fly, let's talk about it. Hit me, go. I like the weapon that fired all the little seeking projectiles, says Caden. Caden, that's great. You're talking about the Seeker Missile Battery from EVERSPACE 1. It was added through, I think it was just a patch. I don't know if it's DLC specific, actually. It came out about the same time as the DLC, so that's the only reason why I'm not 100% sure. But the Seeker Missile Battery fires 10 locked-on little missiles to various targets nearby. Now, you don't get to choose those targets, they just randomly seek them out. The most equivalent thing we have to that at this moment is the rocket launcher, which instead of firing 10, you can spam fire as many of these as you want, up to 200 little baby missiles. But the difference is that instead of locking on, they shoot directly forward. So there's a bit of a twist between the two, but that's the most equal one we have to the Seeker Missile Battery at this point in time. Now, I've already seen the question show up on the Discord. It was actually a more recent question, and I just want to reiterate that here. Someone asked, are we going to see new weapons? And not new weapons as in like, oh, the pulse laser has a modifier on it that after 10 non-critical hits, the chance of critical hits has increased by 20% until a critical hit is made. Like, that's not a different pulse laser, that's a pulse laser with a different effect. You're right. And I can 100% assure you guys that we are in fact working on new weapons, completely new weapons that will be utilized in completely new ways, okay? So you're not only going to see what exists from EVERSPACE 1 move into EVERSPACE 2. Excellent. Okay, in addition to that, I need to turn up my sound. Hang on. Everything's a bit quiet. Should be better. So in addition to that, I heard pulse laser first, and then I saw beam laser already. So let's go ahead and talk about both of those and talk about how they're different from EVERSPACE 1 to EVERSPACE 2. And we'll just use those two because we have them both equipped, and you'll see them exactly being used. So first off, the similarities. Basically, the output is almost identical to its EVERSPACE 1 counterpart. The pulse laser being that it deals a lot of damage to shields, and it doesn't really do a lot of damage once the shields are down. Now, as many of you have made the astute observation that armor and hull are two separate categories in EVERSPACE 2, whereas in EVERSPACE 1, armor was the reduction of damage to the hull. That's since been changed. So kinetic DPS is the damage done to armor specifically, whereas energy DPS is specifically to shields. Both those numbers combined are what deal damage to the hull. This is why you see generally the hull having a much larger value associated with it than your shields and armor. Now, there's still a lot more down the line of balancing and playtesting and getting all these numbers tweaked and figured out. So it's very likely that you're not gonna see too many situations like this, but you might still see situations like there's changes are gonna be made. That's the point that I'm making, all right? So just know that that's the operating capacity of how these weapons work. Energy, kinetic, both to hull. So pulse laser, again, pretty similar rate of fire, in fact, pretty similar energy capacity. All of these things are almost on point from EVERSPACE 1 to EVERSPACE 2. In fact, this is probably the most similar weapon I think that we have in the lineup to everything that was established from EVERSPACE 1. So the second item here is the beam laser. The beam laser also takes a close second here with how it's similar to EVERSPACE 1. Most notably, the highlights of this is that it deals the same amount of damage for its energy and kinetic output, okay? This is the equivalent of EVERSPACE 1 being shield and hull output, right? The second most important thing is that the beam laser shoots precisely where you're aiming. That means you have no leading of the shot. If you're hitting the target, it's because you are holding your mouse over the target location, or if you're using a controller, you're in the realm of where the target is at. And there's a little bit of auto assistance for controllers because nobody in their right mind has that type of precision on a controller. You can't change my mind. And otherwise, yeah, the beam laser, the range has been modified a little bit here. So generally, the range in EVERSPACE 1 was a little bit further, actually. but we have to tone things down, and we have to find a nice sweet spot for the balance of the beam laser in EVERSPACE 2, because it was kind of overused and exploited in EVERSPACE 1. We want to make sure that you have value in the weapon types that you choose, so that one weapon type isn't inherently better than another weapon type, right? Because if that was the case, then everyone would just be like, oh, just use this weapon, GG. We want you to have a pro and a con to each one. And the beam laser, the pros are quite nice. Consistent damage, exactly where you're firing. Like, it's one of those, like, it's a dummy weapon where, what I mean by that is, like, even a dummy could use it very effectively, right? And to that, we don't want to make it so overly broken that it's your be-all, end-all weapon. This is true for everything. Boom. All right, so those are the two that we mostly talked about. These are two that are probably the most similar to their carryover from EVERSPACE 1 to EVERSPACE 2, but it's great for consistency, and I think this is going to be perfect to talk about. Keep it simple, stupid. Oh, absolutely, Tahil. Absolutely. Don't you worry about that. Hello, Zende. It's good to see you, sir. All right. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these and talk to them at length like I just did the pulse laser and the beam laser, but do know that the carried over traits from EVERSPACE 1 to EVERSPACE 2, they're generally there. You know, sometimes with your railgun, for example, the railgun very much is a charge-up weapon that when you fire deals a ton of damage. You have to be really precise with it. There's no zooming in. I know somebody was just like, what? There's no zooming in? Are you kidding me? Calm down, everybody. We got a lot of feedback pertaining to that. You don't know if we're gonna add in a feature to do that or not. All I know is that we wanna keep things fresh and fast, and zooming in could have an effect to alter the pacing in a way that we might not want it to, but it's something that we're considering. Something else, autocannon, this is the equivalent of the Gatling gun. It's your high-scale Daka, insane kinetic damage, as you can see, kind of garbage against shields. Your scatter gun, which is the same as the scatter gun, oh my gosh, great. The energy DPS of this weapon has received a major bonus in comparison. The executioner is completely new, and that is that it's a variation, it's a manufacturer-created item that is a variant of the scatter gun. You'll see multiples of these types. To that degree, it's kind of like your pulse laser versus your pulse laser MX, right? You'll see those types of variants, but through manufacturers now, and they'll have equivalent manufacturer bonuses. Next, we have the blaster, which is equivalent to the plasma. Is it the plasma blaster? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the weapon. I think it's plasma blaster. That's not right. Is that right? Oh my gosh. It's also the blaster though. Very, very similar in that sense. Both high kinetic and energy DPS, but leans more on energy, and it's fantastic close range. Thermogun, fairly fusion blaster. Thank you, Hazy. Thank you, Hazy. Very good. Thank you, Beard Drone. Beard Done. Goodness gravy, yes, fusion blaster. Then Thermogun, very, very similar in that it costs a lot of energy to use, but it does track its target. Its weapon damage is kind of crap, but in the right situation, it's your be-all, end-all, never have to get touched by an opponent utilizing your surroundings. We have the flak, area of effect damage, pew-pew, explosion radiuses. I don't think the team overall is happy with the radius at this point in time. At least I'm not happy with it, because in comparison from the flak from EVERSPACE 1, EVERSPACE 1's flak was so much better in that its expanded radius could hit a lot of different targets nearby, whereas here, it's a bit diminished, as well as the damage output itself. Coil Gun, this is very consistent in that it has long range, but it's kind of hard to focus in on your shots, so it's great against larger vessels. And it has more consistent damage, 153, 172, between the kinetic and energy outputs. And that's what we have currently. Those are all of the weapons that have been introduced into EVERSPACE 2 at this time. Again, this is like these foundational weapons that we're pulling over from EVERSPACE 1. And yes, so that's what we've got. Can you impersonate your ship among enemies? Wow, what a question right out of the gate. That's a pretty neat concept. I suppose there would be a way to do that if you were standing neutral with, say, like an outlaw faction somehow. I suppose it could be possible. It just depends on how aggressive the people you are fighting are. Because I know that you can certainly fly into a G and B group. You could even do that in EVERSPACE 1, right? You fly into G and B even though you want to loot the heck out of them. You defend them against Okar, and then whenever G and B is completely weak, you just pound them out and destroy them all. So, we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's do some combat. So like I said, we are planet side here, and we are going to be fighting some big bad beefy level 12s. So we have just a bunch of outlaw drones and outlaw scouts here. We're using the beam laser as well as the pulse laser. So beam laser, really nice and consistent, easy to utilize, as you can see, for really effective cleanup. But its damage output, especially on these ships, it's a little bit trickier, and the energy output in conjunction with that make it a little bit demanding. So we're gonna swap over to the pulse laser here. And even when we're hitting just the hull alone, this is still a pretty effective laser beam. Oh man, our shields already went down. Yikes. Let's focus fire a little bit. Man, we are already taking a lot of damage in our armor. That's not a good sign. Why is that not a good sign? Because there's more enemies coming in. Woo, okay. So yeah, pretty consistent usage from EVERSPACE 1 to EVERSPACE 2. Nothing too crazy, should be pretty familiar. Pretty familiar. Will there be an ancient weapon in EVERSPACE 2? That's a really good question. I don't even know if we've really talked too much about that internally, because of the nature it has on the play experience in EVERSPACE 1 feels far more appropriate than it ever would in EVERSPACE 2. Let's dissect what that means. EVERSPACE 1 is a roguelike. After you've played it for some time is when you'll unlock the ancient weapon. You could get really lucky and unlock it early, but at the very least, you have to get to Sector 4 once, and then you have to get to Sector 2 and a follow-up run, okay? So at the very least, you have to have like a bare minimum of like 2 hours, but it's probably gonna be over 10 hours by the time you get the ancient weapon. In fact, it's probably gonna be over 20 hours in a lot of cases. That weapon kind of breaks the game intentionally. It makes you super powerful, but at a pretty decent cost, which is you do damage to yourself, and you have to be really precise with the weapon. So it's great against big old baddies, but against little light fighters, it's kind of tricky unless you're being really evasive. So with our mentality with EVERSPACE 2 and how everything works, because it's an open world RPG where you're building your ship over time, right? And you are going back to different areas and meeting different characters and doing different missions. If we were to give you a be-all, end-all ancient weapon in the same sense that EVERSPACE 1 received into EVERSPACE 2, then there is literally no meaning to the rest of the itemization pertaining to your weapons, because you found the best item, right? You got it. Nothing else matters. And we absolutely want to avoid that mindset, that philosophy, and that mechanical usage overall. So if we were to introduce anything like an ancient weapon into EVERSPACE 2, you're gonna see a lot of modifications to it in order for it to fit in to this genre and into the overarching pacing and narrative and performance, etc., etc. Woo! Big answer, but important. I really hope that you understand the context behind that and how that looks moving forward for our decisions pertaining to the itemization. It's so important that your loot is meaningful here, all right? It's so important. Did we ever see him die? Are they hiding the death animation? No, I haven't died. I've died a couple times on streams. I'll probably die in this encounter, to be honest, because maybe made it really difficult. We'll see what happens. When you upgrade beam and pulse lasers, will there be any color changes to the projectiles as well? J Gnarl, that would be pretty dope, wouldn't it? We absolutely want to make sure that the effect on your gear has some type of representation in the game so that you know that you're doing better, right? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So we'll see what happens in the future when we have more to share on weapons and customization and crafting and upgrading, since that's kind of a territory we haven't cracked open too much yet. Regarding UI indicators, Spectral Badger, a major poster on our forums. Thank you for that. Always posting on those Steam forums is a huge boon to us. Keeps things nice and consolidated. Also some really cool suggestions out there, Spectral Badger, so thanks for utilizing that. Good stuff. Is there any way we can have a toggle system to filter out what we want to see at certain times? I think that's a pretty strong suggestion. We would have to see how that impacts basically the toggling options thereof. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that this little guy, these controllers, there's not a lot of options that you have here, right? We're already full up on controller support for EVERSPACE 2, and we're still trying to find new ways and new tools to like implement, you know, if you wanted to turn the lights off on your ship. Long story short, if you're playing on controller, you can't. But if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, you can. We want to make that stuff as accessible as possible instead of having to like go back out into a menu and then go into options and then being like, oh, I want to toggle these certain things on the radar, because that's immersion breaking. It doesn't really feel very good. You know, so we have to figure out what's going to be the best fit, if it's even something we should include or not. So we'll see. We'll see. Sometimes there's really just too many things going on screen. You're right. You're right. And as always, we will continue to work through this work in progress build to try and make that as convenient and easy as possible. Thanks to you, Eric, and the whole RFG team. Thanks. Hey. Thank you. Seriously, we really appreciate it when you guys utilize the services that we provide, like those forums. Seeing a healthy amount of conversation show up there and people agreeing on different points and disagreeing on others, that does kind of facilitate our idea of what you guys ultimately want and can, in fact, make a pretty strong impact in certain regards through development. So definitely keep that up. It's awesome. What about a wheel HUD for controllers? Are you referring to stuff like this? Like where you pop up a wheel and then you choose from a selection? Is that what you mean? Because if that's the case, yes. If you're referring to kind of like the wheels that we had from EVERSPACE 1, that's a little bit different from that because there's not nearly as many options that you have to cycle through. What you just saw is specifically the devices and the consumables, whereas the weapons and the secondaries can very easily be changed in the normal means that was in EVERSPACE 1. It's a great question, though. There will be a loot filter to not overload the cargo space all the time. Bear Hug 67. Yeah, so that's actually something. Did I bring that up last week? 2 weeks ago? A year ago? We want to make sure that the loot is meaningful to you. So if you're flying around at level, I don't know, whatever, 20. Say you're level 20 and you find a level 15 item. Is that valuable? Is that meaningful to your gameplay? Like, why would we generate a level 15 item? What's the purpose of it being there? Because if it has a purpose, it's going to generate us a level 15 item that you can pick up, that you can use for maybe an upgrade, for crafting, for something to recycle it into value, right? But if it has no value at all, then yeah, why in the world spawn it in the first place? So we want to make sure again, that the loot does have value. We want it to have a purpose for you. And that just goes the same in anything. So with that being said, filters might be overkill because we might just not have stuff generate that isn't valuable. So effectively, we filter it out through the code. You don't have to prepare that. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense. T3 Cube, you did not get ghosted. It's that you're invoking conversation with others in the chat, and that's great. I'm just answering questions. Okay, let's do another combat sequence here. Let's see what happens. And for this one, I'm gonna use the railgun because I want to shoot some of these guys from afar instead of die. And when they do get up close, I'm gonna use the executioner, which is a scattergun. So railgun, okay, so we have an elite outlaw scout, other outlaw scouts, outlaw anti-missile drones, an armor drone. We really want to take this armor drone out first, and of course he's flying away from us. That punk. Okay, you know what? We're gonna make a minefield. Oh wow, that's great. Look at that splash damage. That feels really good. All right, but we gotta take this guy out. We just have to have good aim. My aim sucks. How did that miss? Drones are also the hardest thing to snipe. There we go. Say goodbye to your armor. Use more of these mines. We're also gonna destroy these anti-missile drones. We can shoot them. All right. Ah! Okay. Scattergun time. They do a lot of damage up close. Let's see what happens when we let this elite do damage to himself. So I'm using my Entangler device. So if he shoots me, he's gonna shoot himself. All right, good, good. Madcaps always release a pod. Ooh, we're gonna save this overload. We're gonna save this overload for when the timing is absolutely right. Get some more energy. Orbs drop in EVERSPACE 2. This is a completely new modification. So that you can stay in the fight for longer. Yeah, you might spend all of your energy out instantaneously from a boost or from overusing your weapon, but if you get an energy orb at the right timing, you get that added little kick that you need. All right, now this guy is completely defenseless, so I'm gonna be up in his grill, blasting him like so. He can't even do anything because I'm just flying behind him. Beautiful. So we have new enemies spawning in. Oh man, did we just spawn them into the floor? It's funny because the system that we utilize to create these little events for the stream, it's not like anything crazy, okay? It's like, hey, let's generate X number of enemies, X far away from the player's positioning. I could have just simply looked in the wrong direction. That was my bad. If that's the case, I'll just restart this little challenge sequence and we'll be on our way, okay? So just note that this is not general gameplay experience here. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's definitely under the wonderful. So I'll go ahead and restart that. No big deal. In the meantime, I also want to tell you guys, like we have been doing a lot in regards to all of our social media. In fact, we've been updating Reddit a healthy amount this time around too. So I don't know if it's on this rotation yet. I don't think it is, but we are planning to update this screen for you so you can see all of our beautiful, beautiful details pertaining to Reddit. Hazy was recently introduced as a moderator over there. and he's been helping clean things up. So a big shout out to Hazy for doing that, just a member of our community who's been providing a really healthy amount of content to keep you updated in the loop. Overall, our main source of information, I would argue, is still Discord. So if you want to stay in the loop, if you want to chat with us, if you have questions that don't get answered in the live streams, stuff like that, definitely head over to the Discord, which is where you can have a lot of fun conversations, share stuff from the gallery, which we'll be seeing some community posted materials. It should be fun, as well as some other things here in a little bit. So it's gonna be good. I am almost done prepping this secret content behind the scenes. Thanks for your patience as I was a doofus. And then we'll get right back in. See, that didn't take very long, did it? That wasn't too bad. Oh my goodness. All right. All right. So I just generated some new combats to have some fun. This time we've got a bunch of elite outlaw scouts combined with some madcaps, some drones. So they're gonna really pack a punch if we're not very careful. Oh yeah. So music kicked in, perfect. Let's get some different weaponry in here again. Let's do a blaster up close and the thermo gun so we can fly around crazy without having to focus our fire too much. Should be good. So I'm gonna target this drone and use the thermo gun, which you can see just tracks the enemy. I don't even have to like think too much about it. Yeah, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but you know what? Drones don't have a lot of health. So we're already taken care of. Feels good. The blaster, we want up close and personal with these guys. Try and take out this elite, maybe? Ooh, looks like he got away. We'll try and focus him down though. The thermo gun's gonna do very little damage to his armor, as you can see here. Very little, but it's consistent just enough for his health to take him out. Oh my gosh, okay. We have to be really careful here. Let's also change up the viewing port, because I know a lot of you really like that first-person view. Oh, it seems there's an armor drone nearby, maybe? No, he's an elite, so he can activate armor. That's actually what he's doing. Ooh! Whoa, that was close. We're taking a lot of damage, though. That's not good. Shield booster, that could prove to be useful. Or, no, a damage booster, excuse me. Woo, that was not good. We're gonna restore some of our health at least. Using our device. Feels good. Woo! So as you can see, by choosing two weapons that both have a focus on energy, it can be useful in the right situation because, like, it's hard to hit with the blaster, right? But the thermo gun, it's really easy to hit with. And we just have to utilize our evasion more to capitalize on this situation so that we don't get wrecked accordingly. Still, though, I would generally recommend a kinetic weapon and a energy weapon, at least. But it's plausible to use without that combination. Just depends on what your needs are, what your bonuses are. Got him. All right. Oh, those mines were bad. We're going to restore our health, though, because we have our device. Ow, 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 ow. Go. Looks like we got one more. Using a lot of mines up, but should be okay. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So as you can see, we're gonna get some more enemies warping in here. Ooh. But yeah, so that blaster thermogun combo, the reason why this does work is because the blaster's great up close for dishing out a lot of damage, and the thermogun's great for dishing out a little bit of extra chip damage because it is kind of hard to hit with the blaster overall. So they do pair well, fairly nicely together. Now, as you saw, they both put a lot of emphasis on energy DPS, so you are going to be suffering in another realm if you choose this as your weaponry combo. But there are going to be a lot of bonuses that are applicable to only having energy damage. So maybe there could be a bonus that's like, if all your weapons are energy-based weapons or whatever, then you get an additional bonus on top of that. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you can twist to make these work even better than what you see just as their base level functions as weapons as a whole. So definitely be mindful of how you are collecting your equipment, how you're synchronizing it to work together in tandem, versus just looking at the item by itself. Deploy sticky turrets. Unfortunately, sticky turrets are currently coded to only apply to asteroids. We can't put it on the ground, because otherwise that would be amazing. That would be amazing. That might change in the future, I'm not sure. But it says it sticks to rock surfaces only, and technically a planet would be a gigantic rock, right? Eh? Yeah? Taking lots of damage, quantum would have been good. Sir, I would like to show you my health. I am very pleased that we had Temporal Nano Recompensator. But yeah, you're right, quantum would have been perfect in that situation. We would have absolutely obliviated them for attacking us, which we'll get in this next one, okay? I promise. We'll turn it on and they will just crush themselves. Also want to give a big shout out to Michael, not because he's my boss and the CEO of Rockfish Games, but because he is being a baller, answering a lot of the questions you guys are throwing out in the Twitch chat in particular. So thank you for asking your questions. If I miss them because I'm doing this, great. It's no problem. If your questions do get missed, as always, just know we do have a lot of people chatting, and it's fantastic. We're glad that you're here. It's a community-centric stream. I will be trying to answer questions and whatnot as we are going through this. So let's go ahead and go back to the ship, and let's change up our weapons again. I think we're going to use this coil gun, just to show you why it can be such a great weapon and also a terrible one, depending on your situation. And then we'll also do the flat cannon. So both of these, this could be a good combination. Your coil gun's more for range, and your flak is more for area of effect attacks. As I did say before, it's a very small damage radius that it impacts. This is probably going to change, and will probably be affected by a lot of different modifiers. But yes, we'll do that. Coil guns seem to miss so much right now. It depends on your target. If you're shooting at a drone, it's gonna miss a lot. Shooting at a ship, it misses kind of, yeah. If you're shooting at like a destroyer, it hits every time. You have to keep in mind your opponent, right? All right. Let me see if there's a question that I can answer. Eckhart, hey, I've been watching your streams, sir. I've been watching, or not your streams, your YouTube videos. I'm a fan. Just want to throw that back out at you. There you go. I've been enjoying what you do. Will there be a penalty for exchanging weapons from cargo to slots in fight? At the moment, for the alpha and the upcoming beta, there isn't a penalty, but this is something that we are largely considering, Eckhart, because we don't want you to be able to have, like, all the weapons on your ship, like exactly what I'm doing, and just cycle between them in mid-combat situations, or even, like, right outside approaching combat situations, so you can just, like, fly with basically all weapons, right? That would get a little bit, no, it would break the game. Let's be clear, that would actually break the game. So that will be applied at some point, whether it's a timer or cooldown, maybe some sort of restriction on the weapon, like it doesn't do as much damage, etc., etc. I think we kind of outed the idea where if you dock at a place, that's the only place you can, like, cycle your equipment from. So, like, if you wanted to change weapons, you have to go find a station, dock there, and then move the weapon over. We want to apply a lot of flexibility of play and experimentation, and we found that, just from our internal testing, that if we lock the exchange of equipment by having to go to a station, that we're far less explorative of the things that we find. In fact, we just dock at a base, we scrap everything, and we usually keep the same exact stuff, or we just find whatever's the higher level, and that's not very intuitive gameplay for a looter shooter, so... I may have took you for somebody else. Oh, okay, well. It's all good. Start putting them in then? Yeah, no, whenever we get to early access especially, we'll have a little bit more ramifications to players for how they're utilizing their equipment, especially on the fly play. But we didn't feel it was appropriate to have that type of restriction during alpha and beta testing, especially. I mean, we're literally testing stuff. If we're restricting access for you to test stuff, that's a big problem. So that's why it hasn't been implemented in any sort of mass capacity at this point in time. Okay. If your foe is hard to hit, find a bigger foe. Sort of, yes. How about the open space while traveling between locations? Will it have more dynamic stuff to do? So if you're referring to some of the things we've shown off, having like an interception, for example, or finding unique signals that are out there, whether it's an emergency beacon, or if it's a unknown environmental signal or something, like a spike in plasma or something like that. Yeah, we want to make sure that there is value as you're flying around and you're being observant of the locations you are passing. So there is definitely a benefit for paying attention through super light travel. As far as how dynamic we want to make that, it's still up for debate. We'll see. We'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of dynamicism, a lot of dynamics. You know what I'm trying to say. When you go to specific areas, there's a lot going on. And we don't want to make it to where it becomes tedious just to travel from one location to another. We kind of want to have that as also a little bit of breathing room. So if we add too much to the breathing room, it effectively becomes even more stressful. So then it's like you're going from stressful situation through a stressful situation to get to a stressful situation. And we don't want to kill the players of EVERSPACE 2, literally. We want to give you guys a little bit of a break. We want to pace that out accordingly. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, capital ships. Capital ships. Capital ships. Large ships, larger than what you've seen, for sure. I'm gonna ask this every week. Legs in the cockpit! And a choice of pants. Okay, now, I don't know about you guys, but asking for pants in a space game wow. I don't know, like, for me, whenever I'm flying in a spaceship, I'm pantsless, okay? You can judge me all you want, but dang, I gotta keep it breezy. I gotta stay cool, all right? That's, you know what I'm saying? Nailed it. Choice of pants. I mean, we're providing a lot of customization for you guys. Let's just take a look at this ship, right? Like, this is just one ship. There's one ship subclass, right? This is the same exact ship subclass. I'm just cycling between different looks and styles that it could possibly have. Just one. This is just one of many. Okay? This is just tier 1 of the same ship subclass. Okay? Like, there's a lot. Just from the aesthetic of your ship alone. This doesn't apply. This isn't applicable to any of the equipment that we have inside of the ship, right? But then in addition to that, there's more customization coming. I've hinted at this a lot. I think you're going to be pleased with it considerably. Pants. Oh my gosh. Pants. I'm still hung up on this. Jeez. I was not expecting that question today, so thank you. Thank you for the contribution. All right, let's find one that I think is kind of fun. We're just gonna... Actually, that last one was kind of cool. You know what? This is nice, clean, and simple. We're gonna go with this one. This looks simple. Simple is good. Maybe we'll change the color, though. Yeah, I like that. Beautiful. Will we be able to change the colors that we see traveling in Superlight? I love you guys so much. Can we customize the colors of the loot system? Can we change the individual colors for the types of rarity for the tiers? Can we change the font? Can we Seriously though, I love it. I love the questions and wanting to make this your own experience. I think that's awesome. Pertaining to the Superlight travel, I think that we do want to have it fairly consistent with what Superlight travel looks like from EVERSPACE 1, right? Because there are multiple types of specific travel in EVERSPACE, in the franchise of EVERSPACE, in the series of EVERSPACE. Both are applicable here. And Superlight travel very much shows in a bluish color based on the type of technology being used. This is different as opposed to, say, wormhole technology, which utilizes traces of iridium. Oh my goodness. And that appears very green in retrospect. Now, if we were to, say, have a Viridian thruster installed somehow, you know, this is completely, like, this is just a random thought. I'm not saying that this is going to be applicable. I don't actually know how feasible that would be because Okar technology and Colonial Outlaws technologies don't necessarily mix very well. But if we were to do something like that and your thrusters ended up being like a Viridian stabilities or whatever, yeah, maybe it would make sense to change the Superlight travel then. Maybe it would be more green than it would be blue. I don't know. But I don't know if we'd be able to let you customize it specifically to your color. That's a bit bold. That's a bit bold, you know? Actually, though, loot system colors would be a big part of Colorblind Options if those came in. Beer done. Actually, I agree. And we are looking into Colorblind Options, which will be a general makeover of all of the color systems that we're using in EVERSPACE 2. So we want to make it far more capable and usable, accessible. That's the word I'm looking for, accessible for colorblind individuals with EVERSPACE 2. And we're looking into how we can do that. Maybe even having custom color selection for the UI. Maybe. That is not a guarantee. What I'm saying is we're looking into these things to see what we can utilize for you guys. So we'll keep you in the know, and we'll give you updates whenever that form of customization and accessibility comes into play. But obviously, we're looking out for as many players in our player base as possible, and if something impedes your progress or your enjoyment of the game, we would like to find a way to bridge the gap to where you can get back into it for that enjoyable factor. Wonderful. How many clothes do you have? It's same. Is this a personal question? If we're going back to the cockpit view, I mean, we don't have a body in the cockpit. A lot of people have pointed this out. We know. We know there isn't one in there. Maybe things can change. We'll find out in the future. I was hoping these mines would do a little bit more damage. All right, start using the coil gun. Dishes out a lot of damage, but it can be hard to hit. Woo! Okay, some distance. Oh, that's a Ravager. Oh, there's two Ravagers. Oh my goodness. Ooh, that was a lot of damage. Try and focus some of this guy down. Much better. There's a lot of missiles to dodge around here too, so that's not good. This coil gun's proven to be fairly useful. We kind of have to, oh, there's a mine layer. That's what's going on. Oh my gosh. Ooh, we are taking a lot of damage. We're gonna just pop our device to re-heal ourselves. Okay, mine layer is becoming our new factor number one. Got him. Static overload, is it time? Is it time, static overload? I don't know. You might want to hang on to this. Ouch! Mines. We're out of energy! Oh my gosh! What type of energy core do we have? I think it's focused on weapons. Our engines are suffering! Okay, so this missile barrage, let's see what we got here. We got just one bomber, elite outlaw bomber. What's giving us a lot of grief. All right, no more missile protection, so let's get you wrecked. Beautiful. More. Now, honestly, this would be a really good place to have the magnetic repulsor. Now, I kind of was trying to steer clear from devices that we've been using in other streams a bit, but it could be a lot of fun having that guy come back in this situation in particular. So we might do just that. Nanobots. We'll go ahead and pop those on. We're just gonna let him try to hit us. Oh man, he can't even touch it. Look at this coil gun do work on him because he's so large though. Every time he hits us, he's doing damage to himself, by the way, because we're using the quantum entangler. And then we're just gonna heal it all up because we're gonna restore all the damage that we just took. All right, so we're gonna pull in a bunch of stuff. We're gonna dismantle some things, and we're gonna start outfitting ourselves with some new contents here, because we got a lot. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There we go. Obviously, when there's a lot of stuff in the area and you're trying to collect it all, create some crazy situations. Okay, there we go. Good, good, much better. So we'll try to combine some stuff here. Medium nanos, oh, that's great. We'll dismantle some of these other things. And we're gonna dismantle this one too. A lot of loot in the area. It doesn't help that I started with my inventory half full for this demonstration. Black was OP in EVERSPACE 1. I'm inclined to agree. I'm inclined to agree. It was very, very powerful. but it was also very fun. There's a very great fun factor to its use, and we want to capture that experience again. So we'll look into a way to try and balance that out. Okay, so we cleaned up a bit of the mess. We got an elite outlaw destroyer now. All right. Let's change. Actually, you know what? We're gonna utilize the flat cannon right here because drones are very susceptible to flat cannons. Look at this. We don't even have to aim very well, and that flak just crushes drones. Gotcha. All those drones have been gotcha, as Adam puts it. So now let's go ahead and let's cycle out our weapons now. Let's see. We haven't used the autocannon. It's a nice staple. I think for the most part, we've kind of gone through the rest of the equipment. So, let's do a pulse laser autocannon combination. That's generally a nice standardized approach towards most situations. You pulse laser for their shields, and then your autocannon if they have armor. But because the hull takes full damage from energy weapons now, we can effectively use the pulse laser for everything that we want. Autocannon, we can kind of do it. It takes a while to break through the shields, but as you can see, once it gets through, it just annihilates its target. So here's a little bit of the differentiation you see from EVERSPACE 1 to EVERSPACE 2, right? Do the same thing one more time here. It takes a long time to get through those shields, but then if you get the focus down, drops them pretty quickly.
Got it.
Oh, there's several outlaw destroyers. My goodness. Now, Ravagers have little bits of armor plating that you can actually blast off of them. And when you do that, they take a little bit of extra damage. Go. We got another Raptor. Woo! Another Ravager here. And then we're gonna go fight those destroyers. Get some of that armor plating. Ah, it's fine. We'll just missile. Beautiful. Okay, woo! Quick break. We have an option for remove game pausing when open inventory. That sounds like a handicap to the player. Specifically why we have it as a handicap in hardcore mode of EVERSPACE 1, in fact. So Irini, if you wanted to do that for the immersion factor, I could see why that comes into place. Because we want to give players full control over their situation. If they hit the pause button effectively by going into their inventory and wanting to focus on all the numbers and crunch them down and do their comparisons and figure out, well, I need more nanobots, or how do I want to optimize this, or I need to change my device to something more specific and do all of that type of stuff. We want to give the players that style of control. But I could see something within the game that would make the menu not pause. I just don't know how applicable it is to the overarching vision that we have. So, big ships are too slow. You know, this is a fully complete game, and we're not changing anything that you see here. I love you. Yeah, we know that there need to be adjustments to certain ships as well as their AI. Don't you worry about that. It'll get there. Will hardcore mode be coming back? Hardcore is applicable to a roguelike, which is based on runs. Not as applicable to an open world RPG, but I'm sure that we'll have some features of difficulty, either by means of player choice or otherwise. So for example, what I mean by that is in a late game situation, we are having these rifts that you can travel through that provide a pretty strong challenge for you, and there might be a way to increase that difficulty level to make it a hardcore rift, for example. So we'll see. We'll see. Heal device OP. It is at the moment. I'll agree, Shadowy. Energize boost into that destroyer. Actually, I like that idea. Of course, I like our healing, but energize boosting does sound fun right now. Magnetic repulsor no longer works against destroyers. We wanted to keep that focused on other fighters of your size, because even though it was really fun to throw a large ship around, it wasn't very applicable and it was pretty immersion breaking. But we can do stuff like corrosion injector. That could help us out. There's a lot of options here. We'll stick with corrosion injector. Fine. Boom! How much damage did we do? Oh my gosh, guys, I don't think I... Oh no, high pressure was on. It didn't work! It didn't work. Look at the way that he's floating. We bonked him pretty hard though. Didn't take a lot of damage, but we bonked him pretty hard. That's pretty good, funny. All right. Also, it appears we're doing something to him. He's flying around in such a strange pattern. I have broke his AI. All right. With destroyers, when they open up, you want to barrage them as much as possible to do as much damage as possible. Woo! Oh my gosh, I need to fly better. Try this again. Kind of worked. That armor really takes the edge off of those situations. You really want to ram somebody who is shieldless and armorless, because otherwise you kind of waste it a little bit. Now I am being fairly evasive, but anytime this guy lands a shot on us, we do take a lot of damage here. There we go. Now we just have to deal with one more. How much stuff are we holding? We're holding a lot. Let's clean this up before we suck all these goods in. We're picking up an absurd amount of items, by the way. So if any of you are like, oh my gosh, there's so much tedious back and forth between combat and picking up all these items. First off, I have overloaded my equipment menu. Making a unique situation to show you more combat-centric gameplay, so you wouldn't fight these waves in a traditional sense. Like, I'm actually making a situation that's a little bit more crazy than usual, all right? Not to say that it couldn't happen, I suppose, but if it would make your inventory a little bit more succinct through that process so that you wouldn't have to keep going bouncing back and forth, okay? So again, this is a work in progress. This is an alpha. Technically, this is the beta because we're getting real close to releasing this to all of you. And yeah, so it's still getting tweaked, modified, etc. Okay, let's see what happens here. More nanobots. Good. Beautiful. It would be nice to have a destroy all option, for example, wouldn't it? Where you could just like select everything specifically that you want to destroy and just destroy it in one go. That would be really nice, wouldn't it, Hans Christian or Andy? Wouldn't that just be so great? But rest assured, we are finding more ways to convenience you and your item gain not to inconvenience. There we go. So we have one more guy over here. We're just gonna clean up the area and kind of go through the contents here. Bye, real life. Look at all this stuff. Wonderful. Like highlighting multiple items and then choosing to either move them all at once, destroy them all, etc. That would be real nice. Yeah, that'd be pretty dope, wouldn't it? That would be pretty dope. All right, just a little bit more collection over here. Then we're going to take out this last guy. And I think I have one more combat engagement. If not, we're going to go exploring for a little bit. Now, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a spoiler, and that I'm going to avoid going to certain locations and doing certain things because we do have some new contents in the works for the beta very soon. And I don't want to spoil that for you. I want you to experience that yourselves, okay? So what I just spoiled is that I can't spoil you. But trust me, it's intentional. Okay, so we cleaned up this place. We got one bad boy Mama Jama left. We're gonna use magnetic repulsor for the next wave. I think there's another wave. You'd probably sell instead of dismantling. Yeah, I would too, David. I would too. Granted, you don't know the full extent of why you would dismantle and what that could mean, but I digress. Overall, I do agree. Open up! Beautiful. If some of you are looking at all those numbers that are popping up and you're just like, I can't keep track of all those numbers, it's ridiculous. I don't care about numbers in a leveling progression system. I know that my numbers are getting larger the higher that I level up. What I care about are the effects. What I care about are my options and my situational abilities and stuff like that. Yeah, that's totally great. That's totally cool. I'm actually very much like you, in fact. So I'm gonna turn off my damage numbers so it's not obstructing my view. Look at that. A little bit cleaner look for those who desire that. Simple. We are looking to add a number of new options to the menu so that you can toggle and make things a little bit more your own if you want to play a certain way or not another. I almost killed him with that ram because he was out of shields. Did you see that? That felt good. Got him. Yes, we got one more group of opponents. Oh my goodness, look at that guy. Look at him flying around. Beautiful. Again, I'm using cheats. Using dev console commands to like pull them in. That's not what you would see in game. I'm legitimately making a situation happen that would otherwise not happen. So if you see like little wonky bugs and a ship go flying, it's because I'm literally doing stuff that shouldn't happen. So no big deal. Okay, so we've got 4 outlaw destroyers and a handful of enemies. I think this is a good time to overcharge ourselves. Feeling a little bit more confident about this battle now. Excellent. What you just witnessed is an ultimate. Each of the different subclasses have a unique ultimate that is applicable to them. And the Sentinel uses an overload, basically an electricity overload that just pummels everything, kind of like chain lightning. Tahil says the problem is he is not dying. Hi. What do you think I'm gonna say? Just out of curiosity. I'm gonna keep playing. All right, so we got these walking, moving outlaw destroyers. It's beautiful, doing a little tango. One of the features and what's happening here. I want to explain this. I want to explain this because we found out a way to diversify the AI and combine the movement of your opponents together with one another, okay? So the reason why this destroyer is moving unnaturally is because he's actually bound in his movement to this destroyer. Same thing with that one, okay? They're kind of like dancing around each other and you see them colliding awkwardly because again, this is not meant to be imposed into the game yet, but it's a follower system that the AI pattern is using. So that way we can have, say, like a squadron of enemies moving together to engage you. Now again, these big ships probably aren't the best fit for doing something like that, which is why you see these wonky movements. This is still something that's currently in the process of being implemented, but it should excite you knowing that you're not just gonna have like these one-off ships that are just dive-balling you one after the other. You could literally have a squadron of ships dive-bomb you and circle around together, okay? And it just doesn't work with the larger ships. I was trying to fix it because I, made the enemies appear in the ground. But we will absolutely be tweaking the UI, the AI, so that there's some more impactful gameplay based on a leader of a pack, for example. And how you can bring it together in your own gameplay experience. Man, this guy's wonky movement though. This might be a little too much for me to handle. It's kind of in the goofy realm. But otherwise, you can see, like, even in the right situation, the right tools can provide you an advantage overall and give you a taste of the AI and how that's going to move about in a formation. We'll make it a far more unique experience to engage with your opponents than EVERSPACE 1. So for those of you who aren't familiar with EVERSPACE 1, basically each one of the ships in EVERSPACE 1 was bound to its own unique AI, which was mostly dive in, attack, cycle around, okay? We wanted to do a lot more with this AI system. In fact, we had a lot of plans to make it a bit more rich, and we lost out on our time. So we had to simplify, we had to cut some corners and ensure that the content that we had in place was working as intended. And so we do have some unique setups for like the bombers, for example, which we're really happy with, and how they swoop in really close. They always fire their missiles. The drones, their AI is to cycle around you to make them hard to hit, of course, which is why you need to try and stay at a little bit of a distance from them. And then obviously the swarm fighters, which is kind of an example of what you're seeing here. The swarm fighters were 5 fighters of the Okar fleet that would swing in together, and they would always dive bomb you, and then they would cycle around for extra passes and whatnot, and they would always be together. They would never split up and do anything crazy like that. So really what you're seeing here is that kind of swarm mentality where ships are attacking together, and we can do that to whatever ships we want this time around. So we are hoping to provide a lot of unique AI, interesting combinations, if you will. So maybe you get really used to, oh, it's a generic outlaw scout. They're going to attack me this way. And we might pull a fast one on you. You might get a completely different AI that you're not really expecting. And so then you're gonna have to improvise using the tools that you have. Maybe he's far more evasive. He actually hides behind asteroids. Maybe he uses boosters to try and ram you. Maybe he has a device that you weren't expecting. And this is a big part of how we want to incorporate new ways to engage, new ways to formulate a solution to the gameplay, right? Cool. I'm missing a lot of questions, I'm sorry. Crisis, I'm looking back a little bit in the chat. Crisis says, when's the beta drop coming? Very soon, it's the second half of this month, which is now. This is now the second half of this month, so it's very soon. I would, yeah, just keep your eyes peeled and your ears open. We'll have a lot of information. Very, very soon. Very soon. I promise. Is there PvP in this game? Asked developer Paul123. We are a single player experience. So everything that you see in this game is constructed with you in mind. It is your game and your game alone. Everywhere you go, the missions that you take, the world that changes around you, and its persistence because you chose to attack that station or befriend those enemies, befriend that, you know what I'm saying? Everything that happens here is yours and it's not touched by any other player, okay? Intentionally designed as such, we want it to be a single player game. And all of these locations, by the way, since we haven't really talked about this too much, are handcrafted. Each one of these are unique. Each one of these are a unique human-formed place for you to go experience. These are not procedurally generated like EVERSPACE 1 was. EVERSPACE 1 was applicable to that using a roguelike formula. But here, there's permanence. There are specifics. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and let's fly out from this situation. We've seen enough of this combat. But that should give you a good sense of how the AI is overall functioning and how it brings together in its formats. Whoop! Hello, planet. Neat. So we're just going to enjoy the view here for a second, and I'm just going to look and see if there's more questions to answer for the time being. Does the game have carrier ships for supply formations? Different roles, different formations, it's nice. Yeah, and that's in, so to answer your question, we want to have a nice variety of enemies. In fact, we already have, I think we already have more enemy types in EVERSPACE 2 than there is in EVERSPACE 1. And we are not done yet, at all. We want to make sure that there's a function and a feature to each one of the ship types. We've barely even scratched the surface. We haven't even shown an Okar ship in EVERSPACE 2 yet. We have not even shown the Okar. All you've seen are just various outlaw factions and a couple of GMB and some freelancers. Yeah. Whew. I showed a block out of an interceptor. I showed a block out of an interceptor T-32. That's a little different. I haven't shown you the actual ship. We would still like to see a leaderboard somehow in the game. Blackheart, I agree with you. I think that a leaderboard is a great way, like score chasers in certain regards of a single player game adds a lot of longevity. I am absolutely in agreement there. The trick about that is that if we go a leaderboard route, that means that we're gonna have to have some type of inclusion of online play in order for you to get your stats uploaded there, right? And we want to make sure that this is a game where you don't have to be online in order to play it, right? So we're taking steps very lightly and treading very carefully in that sort of realm. But we do have, like, I mean, there are definitely opportunities where you can compete with opponents, with your friends, with your various stats throughout the game. Now, here, these are all pretty general stats, but you could also see like something that shows up with like scrapyard race time that's kept right here. So you know what your best time is for that racetrack. Or you could have number of drones destroyed at this event. You know, maybe there's like an event where you have waves of drones and you have to kill as many as possible, something like that, and it gives you your total. And we could have all that tracked here that you could compare with your friends without having to be online, right? Of course, you could have cheaters. You get that in score chasers anyway, whatever. The point is that we do feel that that is a really strong aspect of the community to include in a game such as this because there is an opportunity. We have to see how applicable it is overall to push for it. Co-op adds great longevity as well. Oh my gosh. You know what else co-op requires? A lot of time. You know what time requires for developers? Money. So if you're willing to dish out more money than what we are looking for, we'd be happy to include co-op, as well as your patience, because it would take probably an extra year. An extra year just to add co-op. It changes so many foundational systems in the game just to add co-op. It also completely screws up our narrative with the story. We would have to figure out how to tie in a second player. It just changes so much. It changes so much. It wasn't our initial vision. It wasn't even the vision that the majority of our community at the time of the end of EVERSPACE 1 really wanted. And we just don't feel it's strong. How much are we talking here? 20 bucks, 30? I got 50. Hey, you know what? I'll send you my what's it called? Cash App, whatever. You just send it straight to me and I'll see what I can do. That works, right? It's not in the scope. It's not realistic. At absolute best, you could see co-op added to EVERSPACE 2 in like 5 years. But I doubt we would want to return to it after that long. And plus the spaghetti code would be awful. Oh gosh. Oh, that's not something you would want to crack open. But there have been a lot of people asking, well, what about EVERSPACE 3? Is that possible? Yeah, I suppose that's absolutely possible to be a multiplayer or co-op experience for sure. But we're not really thinking about that. We're not really working on that. We want to work on EVERSPACE 2. So I'm just making sure that you understand our vision, the direction, and all of that stuff moving forward. It's not that we don't think it's a strong idea. It certainly is. It's just not what we're achieving. The good stuff. Do you like spaghetti? Hey, spaghetti's delicious, but it requires the right sauce. And after 5 years of developing a game and then returning back to it, let me tell you, it's pretty freaking saucy. You mentioned possible modding for EVERSPACE 1. This is a great question. Possible modding for EVERSPACE 1 when it was in dev, but it never happened. Any chance for EVERSPACE 2? So you'll be pleased to note. I already started the clappers. Thank you. Hold your clap. Hang on a second. So you'll be pleased to know that mod support is actually on our list of priorities to bring to EVERSPACE 2, just not right now. It's not in the works right now. It's not like on our dev board to like hammer it out, but it is a high desirable that we have. I said it backwards. It's a high desirable, it's a low priority. That's what I mean to say. So we really want to bring it to the table, it's just not on the table right now. Does that make sense? I need to correct my wording there. I'm gonna say that one more time, just to make sure it's super, super clear, all right? We want mod support. We want it. It's a very hot item. We know that you want it too. It's not a priority right now. There we go, worded correctly. All right. Then maybe after full release then? Yeah, probably be something like that. Sounds like a DLC. I think if we made mod support a DLC, like, oh, you have to give us money to mod the game. Holy cow, that is some shady dev tactics right there. That's not our style. No, that's not gonna happen. It would be more like a patched in sort of experience is my thought, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Don't worry, we're not, I want to just lay this out there right now, guys. We are not the developers who are gonna be like, oh yeah, you wanna customize your ship? You want to make it look a little bit better? Well, give us $50 for the DLC to change the color of the purple. No, that's not us in the slightest. We're gonna bring you the systems that we are designating that should be incorporated into the vision, into the game. And if we can't bring it into the game, we will patch it in. And if we feel that there is a powerful amount of content that we weren't able to bring to life based on our deadlines and based on the feedback that we received, we'll put it into a really strong expansion DLC for you, all right? That's how this whole process works. Super cool, neat. Any thoughts on bringing the game to Stadia? So we have a lot of thoughts about where we would want to take the game and what we will want to do with it. I think the long and the short of it is that if and when we go any sort of directions with EVERSPACE 2, whether that's, like bring it to new consoles or, any other launchers or anything like that, we will make the according announcements. And we have to do it like that for a number of reasons. One, because NDA. Two, because we don't want to betray our trust in other people that we could potentially work with. And three, see the first two. Those are really important. So that will all be a part of the development process and our communications with you. Mod Sport, yes. Also, please bring it to consoles. That would be lovely. Jehun Cross. That would be pretty dope, wouldn't it? David says it takes a lot of money to get a multiplayer running. The maintenance cost is not inexpensive. Yeah, that actually reminds me of another game that came out recently that's already dropping its multiplayer server support. Oh, you never like seeing it happen. Like, even if it's a competing developer against us, you don't like seeing that. You want gamers to just always be winning. You want developers to always be winning. You want to see quality products being made in this industry as a whole, right? I swear, I'm gonna be on this sandbox just for a moment, and then we'll get back to everything. But like, it always kind of hurts inside. You never like seeing that, unless they're ripping off your game, in which case they can die in a fire. But otherwise, like, you want the best. You want the best for other developers and what they're trying to achieve, because innovation fuels us all. Variety of games that builds everything, right? That's what you really want to see. And sometimes it just kind of pains you, and you have to take a step back, take a moment to grieve for a moment, and then you move on. But yeah, long story short, maintenance costs of multiplayer is it's a price. There's a price to be paid. Yeah, and when I say multiplayer, to be clear, I'm even talking about baseline co-op. Co-op is a multiplayer system. Unless you're talking about couch co-op, and I don't know if EVERSPACE 2 would be the best fit for a simple couch co-op. I mean, maybe I can kind of see it, but for the most part, if we were to go that route, if we were to take the time, like I said, it'd be like a year's worth of time to develop a system for multiplayer, we wouldn't want to make it so niche to have to bring somebody over to play it together on your computer, for example. That could be, go get another controller, or go get another keyboard and mouse, plug it in. That could be, I don't know how I feel about that. So that's why I'm saying multiplayer, but that's also encompassing co-op. All right, so context, boom. Simple couch co-op can then support Steam Play together. No, there's means. Spear Drone. I know. There's several other options about that. Anyway, we're going off on too much of a tangent. I had my little soapbox moment. Thank you for allowing me to do so. Let's talk more about EVERSPACE 2. Let's dive in a little bit more of this. We have a couple locations that we can fly to. Oh shoot, you know what? I didn't actually test any of the Union locations before the stream. I better not go there. That's unfortunate. We can always go to Nefty's Plains and explore some cave systems. I think that's always fun. We'll go ahead and do that. Tiberius. Yeah. Hey, you promised for some spoilers. Well, I spoiled that you're gonna get spoilers soon. It's like, hey guys, we have an announcement that there's going to be an announcement. I understand. That's silly. It's dang near valueless, right? But I mean, obviously, we do have the beta coming out pretty soon. And overall, like, we want to add stuff. Like, when individuals who have access to the closed beta, we want to make sure that you're not diving in and just experiencing what I've been showing on the streams. I don't think that would be very exciting. I don't think that would be very, there's a word that would be perfect to use here, and you're all thinking it because you're all intelligent, beautiful people. But basically, we don't want to do that. We don't want to take away that breath that you receive, that wonder. We don't want to take the wonder away. So we are keeping some things kind of behind the scenes that you'll be pleasantly surprised that were added to the beta. And early access is going to be the really big game changer, though. When early access launches at the end of this year, there's going to be some hot content for you guys to enjoy. Oh, I'm excited about that. That's going to be real nice. Woo. Okay, so let's go down here to Nefty's Plains. And we're gonna sell our stuff because I remember someone in the chat said, yeah, I would rather sell my stuff, and I would too. In fact, you can tell that I would rather sell my stuff because look at how many credits I have in this game file. I love selling things. Could we buy a new ship? Wow. 5 interceptors and 1 striker. My goodness. We could change our weapon, our ship class. You know what? Let's go ahead and buy this guy. This one looks nice. We'll transfer our other one to the home base. What? You can store ships? Yes, you can store different ships at your home base and access them later and whatnot. Looking for an ice world. Yeah, we want to make sure that we have variety on the planets. Like, obviously the one planet that you can go to now, actually we have 2. We technically have 2 planets that you can visit. But the first one is a desert planet, right? The obligatory desert planet, because you don't have to worry about flora and fauna, because that adds a lot of weight to development. We want to make sure that there is a variety, of course. So an ice planet, that does sound kind of cool. I like that. We also have a gas planet that you can fly just on the brim of the gaseous surroundings. But I can guarantee you there's more in the works, for sure. All right, so we just changed our ship over to a striker. So what does that mean? It means we have new ship characteristics. So this guy doesn't get any passives, unfortunately, but when we're in close combat, we actually get a bonus to our damages. And we also have the Quantum Tether, which is an ultimate that allows us to connect to nearby enemies and just make them retrieve damage. And it increases damage based on how many you have tethered. So this ship is all about getting in the face of your opponents. We also have an extra weapon slot, but we have 1 less consumable slot than the Sentinel. There are going to be a number of other distinctions made between even subclasses of the same medium ship. You'll also see this with the lights and the heavies, to where you're gonna have very unique traits where you would want a striker over a Sentinel based on the simple equipment that you're discovering. Okay, so let's go ahead and sell a bunch of stuff. Keep that one instead. Now there would be means to hang on to some of these items. I'm kind of just selling them for the sake of the stream, but like for example, if we didn't have all our perks completed, we'd be tracking these, we would be using our resources to upgrade them accordingly and whatnot. But since we have all those done, there's not really any reason for me to hang on to them right now in this build, especially because we don't have crafting or upgrading available to us. But otherwise, that could change very rapidly with one simple update. Can you upgrade your home base? What a question, and I love it. We haven't talked about the home base too much more. There have been a little bit of narrative deep dives that have come out since EVERSPACE 2's initial reveal. To give you a... It's hard to give you a direct answer, but I will say it would be pretty lame, for example, if you could only hold 1 or 2 ships in your home base, right? So there would have to be a means to increase the hangar size, for example. So I'll let you just kind of chew on that. Answer that question accordingly so that I don't get in trouble breaking any sort of NDAs and you get somewhat of an answer you're looking for. Hey, we both win. Beautiful. Oh man, there's a wonderful little chat going on in Twitch right now. I like the discussion, guys. Keep it up. If you have specific questions that I can help answer for you guys, let me know. Let's see, on YouTube, what do we got? Golf Planet, just endless grass fields and golf courses. That's silly. I kind of like that. That's the sillier part. Yeah, but then like I can imagine like on the golf field planet, right? It's like you're all trying to discover where the thing is, then you discover like, oh look, hole in one, perfect. Whatever. So you'll notice immediately that this striker is a bit more zippy than the Sentinel is. So this was something that I'm kind of mentioning, the differences between the different subclasses. It's not just aesthetics. It's not just these little stat changes, the ship characteristics changes. It also changes your bonuses to your armor and your shields. It also can modify your ship speed and handling just from the base level values. So there's a lot that can change just from cycling between your ships. Now, I know somebody's probably gonna ask, so I'm also going to address this really quickly. Do your stats change based on the different pieces that make up the ship? And to that, I will say, we are looking into that. We want to make sure that there is value in having a certain wing type versus a certain engine type versus a certain body type. And we think that it does make sense at first to have wings that offer X, Y, and Z, right? We also have to make sure that if we go that route, that it's going to provide meaningful growth to the player without hindering your specific tastes, right? We don't want you to give you wings that are super ugly, that you're like, I don't want these wings, but I want this power. So we're also considering the aesthetic customization of your ship later in the game, the end game specifically, where you can choose the wings that you want with the powers that you want. So we'll see that sort of growth over time as well. Look at this little boy. I like him. It's fun. So many ships, but it's just one ship class. Yep. Yep. One of those looked like a light ship. Did it? Where's my camera going? Better angle, maybe. Yeah, all of these are strikers. All these are. Ooh, I like that one. Oh, I like this one a lot, actually. We're gonna use this one. I have decreed. But yeah, light fighters. We've shown some of the blockouts for some of the light fighters, and we've shown blockouts for some of the heavies. I think that we're going to have more information on some of those soon. So yeah, that's exciting. What a gorgeous ship. It's so pretty. I like it too. I like it too. Something that's kind of fun, and you can see that there's still a lot more to go with development, is that if you look in the very, very, very middle, right into the middle of the dash, it's kind of hard to see, but under the speedometer and the alt that are right in the middle, so like the alt is right here, the speedometer is right here, there's a insignia in the middle, and that represents the Sentinel, and then there's text underneath that says Sentinel. Here, let me change the color so you can see it. You can see it very clearly now. It says Sentinel, but we're flying a Striker, okay? Still making progress. We're still putting in all these pieces, okay? But we're really happy with the results overall of having like the ship color customization with the lights and everything all working together in tandem to really bring you some really cool looks, really cool feels, just for that alone. Just for that alone. And you can also see like you can see the front of the ship too, like the nose of the ship out there. That does change based on your cockpit position. So like for example, if we change if we change the cockpit specifically and say put it into the front like this, where it's low-hanging cockpit, that does change the viewing reticle, and the wings are all the ways back there, right? Versus if we were to change it, we just changed it on the fly. Well, this one's still out in front, hang on. Basically, the point is that the view changes based on where the cockpit literally is. So if we have it on top like this, then can we see the wing? Yeah, so now the wings are right next to us, right? Because we're on top, etc., etc. We wanted to add that distinction for your viewing pleasure, literally. Really happy about that. Any spec requirements? Idea. Yes, actually, we've received that question a lot. And as such, we want to make sure that you guys have as much information about it as possible. So let me go ahead and pull up our official response to that question, because it's got a little bit of meat to it, and I want to make sure I answer this as best as I can. Let me just find it really quick. It's a really strong response to it. Was it deleted? What in the world? Where did it go? One second, everybody. I thought I knew where this response was. But I know that we had a discussion in Hardware and Tech about it, I think, on the Discord. But long story short, we're not trying to push something where you have to buy all the latest stuff. Like, oh yeah, if you want to run EVERSPACE 2, you need a 380. You didn't pick one up. Too bad, you can't play our game. No, we're goodness gravy. Not at all. I know at the very least, we want to have elements comparable to run on like your low to medium settings for like a 1060, for example. We still want it to be able to function on that at like 30, 60 frames per second. So we want older software to still utilize the game by modifying some values here and there. But we also want to make sure that in order to maximize all the features and the special modern day technologies, that you can take advantage of that, even at medium to high settings with stuff that maybe is a year or 2, 3 years old, right? So overall, we haven't gotten into any form of optimization yet. You can actually see some of the complaints from alpha testers like, man, my computer's having a hard time running this, and I've got a really nice computer. Yeah, the game file's actually really massive right now. None of it has been optimized. That's going to be a process that goes through in the early access phase of development. But just know that, yeah, we want to make sure it's flexible, it's approachable, and you don't have to spend another $1,000 on your machine just in order to play the game. Oh, thank you, Michael, for posting the link. That's where the question, oh my goodness, that's where the question was. Let me just read this aloud. It's important. It's important. So I'm going to read this verbatim, what we posted on the forums, okay? In the current alpha, which was actually before this, beforehand, in the current alpha, that was still lacking optimization, 4K 60 frames per second could be achieved using an i7 and an RTX 2070 Super. Michael's 6-year-old gaming notebook with 16 gigs of RAM, an i7 at 2.6 gigahertz, and a GTX 970M still pulled 1080p at 30 frames per second. It's a 6-year-old notebook. Recommended specs that are pending, because we still have over a year's worth of development here, okay? Keep that in mind. Are likely going to be around 16 gigs of RAM, an i7 at 2.9 gigahertz, GTX 1080. This will likely achieve epic settings at 1080p with a stable 30 frames per second. The goal, of course, is to hit 4K at a super clean, stable 60 frames per second for an RTX 2070 Super or equivalent, with your graphics settings set to high or higher. All right, that's a slice of what we're looking at and what we would like to accomplish. Now you know. Again, Michael, thank you for posting that link. Sorry I brain farted. I was looking at Discord. Of course it was posted on the PC Gamer forums, where we had a live AMA for an entire week, had a narrative deep dive. Oh my gosh, we had a lot of fun with that. It was really good. Really, really solid AMA. All right. Oh man, we only have 12 minutes left. Let's talk about some of the stuff that you shared with us community-wise this week. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kill this game. We're gonna see a blank, actually, you know what? Speaking of the community, you can actually go to the community where a lot of the stuff you're about to see was distributed in the Discord. Into the Discord, where you people have been sharing wonderful things with us. You people, I don't know why I phrased it like that. You people. But no, seriously, you guys have had a lot of fun in sharing screenshots and different fan arts and whatnot. I'm going to be showing you the stuff that has been shown more recently. So we are going to show mostly screenshots. We're mostly showing screenshots, just so that you can kind of see what people have been capturing on their own time. So we are going to start off with a little ditty. As soon as it loads, we'll cycle back in. But obviously, you can also see we're on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. There's some really gorgeous shots that are from the community that get posted there all the time. In fact, some of the shots that I show might even be posted up on Instagram already. Maybe. Will, did you do that? Because you should. Pretty sure you did. But yeah, it's a wonderfully good time. We really like showing your work. You guys do some fun things. Yes to all of them. Perfect. All right, so let's dive into here. I did not modify this line that the what's it called, marquee. I didn't modify that, so it might lie to you a little bit. It's fine. All right, so let's talk about some of these pictures. This first set comes from our fellow Equitas. This is an individual who's been in our community for a pretty long time. He's been helpful as well. He donated a couple of keys to us that we then redistributed to our community. What a champion. Equitas. Nice. So these are a couple of screenshots that he's been taking in the, I want to say it's the alpha itself. And so we've got this lovely little landing right here. I really quite like that. Almost could be like logo worthy. Boom. Really pleasant ship. Pretty solid stuff. We also have this one, which is the explosion of a minefield. It's kind of trippy. I really like it. It would make a great desktop wallpaper, I feel like. It's really pleasant. We're happy with the particle effects and the aberration, chromatic aberration that's occurring in the game. We still have a couple more tricks up our sleeves, though. So if you really want a refined gaming experience, be sure to maximize dem epic settings. Rawr. It's gonna be good. This is another great shot. Almost looks like space jellies, which would actually be canon, by the way. If you guys owned the DLC for EVERSPACE 1, you will know that there are actually plasma jellyfish that exist in plasma fields. So this isn't a long way from something that could be realized. Maybe you have to like fly through some really large plasma jellyfish. But these are just exploding mines. That's all they are. They're exploding mines. But just because we're on the topic of space critters, I want to let you all know, yes. Trust me, that's a great answer for you guys. Okay? Space critters, yes. Yes. And I'm not just talking little ones. Yes. All right. Let's keep going. I'm a big fan of this shot. This is just a great shot. I love the red beaming lights in the background. I love the angle of the ship. I love the shields getting blasted from the rear. It just, everything comes together in the shot. The colors really pop. It's a nice dynamic angle. Equitas, I think you captured it very well here. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing your photos with us. Really clean, really succinct. Very happy. We've got one shot from Jay Gnarl, who I believe is in chat. Directed by J.J. Abrams. Oh, Blackheart. Great. So this one comes from Jay Gnarl, and it's gorgeous. You think, wow, that's a really clean shot of EVERSPACE 2. Wait! That's EVERSPACE 1. What? I know! That's an EVERSPACE 1 shot. But wait, that's a Sentinel from EVERSPACE 2. No, look a little closer. That is clearly a colonial-styled Sentinel. All right? This has not been a modified Sentinel to serve its role in other realms. That is definitely a colonial Sentinel there. And it has seen vast improvements from the time of EVERSPACE 1 into EVERSPACE 2. I really love this shot, Jay Gnarl. I think that you did a fantastic job embracing everything. Oh, it's clean. It's just clean. I'm gonna clap. Y'all should clap. Clap at your computers. Yes. Great. Love it. Hope to see more come out of you, because it's just pleasant. It's just so pleasant. Then we have Hazy Devil, who went absolutely crazy with the photos. I'm gonna cycle through a bit of them because some of them are similar. It's because he was trying to capture just the right angle and whatnot. But doing a little bit of Illuminati stuff, standard drill. Looks pretty clean, looks pretty good. These also come from the alpha, I believe. Is that right, Hazy? Pretty sure they're from the alpha. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We'll just kind of cycle around, but getting that strong beam laser action. He also discovered that when you start going into superlight and you use teleporter, it creates a really interesting effect. So this is right after teleportating and having this bubble of the superlight start forming around the ship. And I think it looks interesting. I think it looks pretty cool. Yeah, I dig it. And he got a lot of these different angles captured. This one's probably my favorite one. It just feels right. It feels so right. You see this ship getting ready to launch into almost like a portal here, right? And that's ultimately what we want it to feel like. That's what Superlight is meant to be. It's like you're engaging into an entirely new realm to traverse these territories. It's just a clean, great shot. Very good. Space travel visualized. Yep, right. We've got this one as well with the Nord teleportation forward. And then he changed things up as well in the angles, but also in the device usages as well, which we'll see in just a moment. This one's really clean too. But here he's like, well, what happens if I get real crazy? The angle here with the star and the planets aligned in the background. I'm digging what you're going for, Hazy. I want to see more come out of it. It's starting to get pretty artistic. Pleasurable. And then he's like, you know what? What would happen if I used weapon overdrive while doing this? And now it's just getting silly, right? Now we're just oh my gosh, I love it. But it's great. It's great. We got this one here. We got that one there. The EMP blast teleporter to superlight combo. This is like the closest thing to a jellyfish you'll see in the game as of right now. Good stuff. Then we also have him aggressing a mining drone. A mining drill, excuse me, not drone. Actually, you labeled it drone in Discord. I've been got. I've been had. But it's a mining laser. And when you do get in front of it, if you don't have any shields, you take a ton of damage. So would not recommend. But very cool for scale. And using the features of our camera mode, zoom in, add some depth of field. Actually, you didn't use any depth of field, did you? But otherwise, changing the aperture and whatnot. Good stuff. Now getting crazy with the beam laser. Neat. And that's all of the gallery shots that we received from last week. If you want your images to pop up, if you think that you can contribute something magical that you want everybody to stare at and possibly laugh at you, then yeah, by all means do it. You should definitely post in our gallery. It's good, no pressure. But also, I will say this: we need more creative individuals to embrace their love of anything that's tactile, anything that is you can grab, that you can sculpt or craft yourself. We haven't seen any in a while. We saw at one point in time some really cool Lego ships built for EVERSPACE, and we saw some other playful 3D approaches and manipulations into real world situations. We saw there's so much that you guys can do. I know that you can, and I want you guys to let your passion shine. If you love this game, if you love what we're doing, and you want to show what you're capable of doing, we'll definitely highlight what you do. We'll post it in the streams. That's just what we do. We love you guys. We love what you do. So yeah, get creative. And I think that next week we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about. So it would be really fun to see something to pair along with that, right? Neat. You look like this teacher that watches his little students drawing. Okay now, class, your assignment is to make an EVERSPACE ship out of clay. Oh, what color are you gonna choose, Sally? No, trust me, it's not like that at all. Even though it kind of is, but it's not, okay? Seriously, I want you guys, if you want to, obviously, I'm not telling you, but I digress. It's really cool to see that stuff. It's really neat. I miss the Lego ships. There were some good ones. Even the Lego one from Blender, I thought that was really nice. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Welcome to my show and tell. Oh, gosh. The direction of the stream's going sideways. How will we fix this? I don't know. Wait, I have an idea. Let's talk about our social media for a second. Oh my goodness, are you guys on the Discord? Because seriously, you should be. You should get in there. It's a really good time. It's where a lot of the gallery shots come from. If not from there, we have a lot that's posted on Instagram that Will maintains. He does a really good job. We have completely revamped and are starting Reddit. We're kind of like re-embracing it. It used to be an unofficial Reddit where people would just talk about EVERSPACE, but we are capturing it and we are pushing it to be an official source for you guys. I'm going to be playing a lot bigger role over there. Maybe we'll do some AMAs eventually and really have a lot of fun. So if you are Redditors yourselves, definitely encourage you. That's going to be EVERSPACE Game. That's what it's called, I believe. But we'll get that added to our list here so that you can jump on that as well. As I mentioned, and just another shout out because Hazy's an incredible dude. He is helping us out moderate that. He's I guess you could call him our resident Reddit wizard. And he'll be doing a lot to take care of you and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that that's all I have for today though. So be sure to go to all of these different sites and sounds if you want to stay up to date with anything and everything EVERSPACE 2. Obviously, keep coming back to these streams. Next week is going to be an exciting one. I do hope that you'll join us there, and we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about, and all of those fun things. So we'll catch you on the flip side, I suppose. And you guys have been awesome. I have been Eric Schrader, the community ambassador, your servant, your guide for all things Everspace and Everspace 2 and Rockfish games. Don't stop being awesome, and we'll catch you next week, same exact time, same exact channel on Friday. Toodles!
Did I mention that next week was going to be a big deal?
Dog is excited to help his buddy Adam.